It's a way of the Mr. Quickey, oh yeah. Like many of you, I have been closely following the ongoing tragedy unfolding in Texas. As you must know by now, the fierce winds and unending rains brought by Hurricane Harvey and the ensuing tropical storm have destroyed entire communities and devastated the lives of our fellow citizens in the state. So I'd like to encourage all of you watching, if you have the means, to make whatever donation you can to the Red Cross and their efforts to help our friends there in serious need. But in devouring the coverage of this truly heartbreaking tragedy, I have noticed a conspicuous absence of the reliably repugnant voices from those on the religious right who will use such tragedies in other, less red states to suggest these events are obvious and overwhelming indicators of God's displeasure with the politics of the generally less religious people in those areas. California, New York, areas favoring LGBTQ rights or abortion rights, that kind of thing. Of course, my first thought was to be disgusted by the grotesque hypocrisy of those who have not spoken out because Texas is such a reliably red meat, God-fearing state. And any such condemnation would make it look like God does not approve of the efforts of the good people of Texas to pass laws attempting to align the secular government there with God's holy word. But then I realized how uncharitable that was of me, and I gave it a second thought. So here's what I think is going on now. I think this horrible tragedy, because it's happened to them and their people, has finally, once and for all, shamed those reliably repugnant voices on the religious right into silence. I think they have finally, thankfully, become aware of how absolutely abhorrent it is to use the devastating tragedies befalling others to score political and theological points. I think they have finally, thankfully, become aware of how this kind of gamesmanship not only fails to recognize the humanity of those whose lives have been destroyed, seeing them only as pawns in God's big game of I told you so, but that it cripples their own humanity and ability to empathize with their fellow man. I think they've finally, thankfully, been shamed into following Jesus and his teachings. They're aware now that God makes his sun rise on the good and on the evil, and he makes the rain fall on the just and on the unjust. In this case, literally. In essence, they've finally understood the teachings of the book of Job, that we do not, in fact, get what we deserve in this life. And they're ashamed of themselves. So I want to reach out to my fellow non-believers and ask you all to avoid the temptation to be smug and engage in your own big game of I told you so. If you have believers in your life who have previously used such tragedies to their advantage and have now gone curiously quiet, give them the benefit of the doubt. Approach them without condemnation or ridicule and open your arms to them as they rejoin the family of man and reconnect with their humanity. They get it now, so they don't need you to rub it in. Now, there is a chance that I'm wrong, so I'll leave that door cracked open just a smidge. Actually, you know what? I'm so hopeful, I think that chance is so small, I'm just gonna crack open a window. I think an entire door is completely unnecessary. But as you know, if you've watched my videos for long, I am always prepared to be wrong and stand corrected. I just can't remember a time when I have so desperately wanted to be right about something. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best.